Your mind is limitless. The possibilities are endless. Awaken Your Mind Magic shows you how you can dream limitlessly and live your life on a new level. Susan Kathleen speaks with ordinary people who are living extraordinary lives using the power of their mind.
Silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside, gold on the inside. Silver on the outside.
Abundance, prosperity, and success. There are no limits to what you can dream. Join Susan Kathleen on a journey into your dreams, making a difference and living life on your own terms. This is Awaken Your Mind Magic.
Hello and welcome everyone. My guest speaker today is Brian D. Ridgway from Hawaii. He is a #1 best-selling author of the book Break Your Self-Help Addiction. Most of his clients are people who have already invested years or decades in personal development with limited results. Brian's method of core paradigm clearing creates massive life and business results where nothing else has, including literal miracles. He's known as a $161 million man, the Spellbreaker, and the Shaman Coach, and he delivers a radical core paradigm shift that can help you experience freedom in all areas of life. Brian says he's not a healer, a teacher, or a guru. He's just a reminder, here to remind you of what you already and always know. So welcome, Brian. It's so good to have you here today.
Aloha, Susan. Glad to be with you.
And I'm really glad to have you here, Brian, because I have to be honest to all the listeners. I've tried this 3 times, and this guy has such an effect on me. I've lost the ability to speak. Brian, thank you so much. I am very grateful to have you here today. Your Friday, my Saturday, and it is really great. I'm here in your time machine, but I'm sure that you're able to tell me more about my future after I've spoken to you today. Tell us your story, Brian.
Well, I hope we have 24 hours for me to tell this. So I tell my story usually in 2 different threads that ran at the same time. So on one side, there's the physical reality that I was born in Columbus, Ohio, 1964, to a really angry man who had a huge temper. He had been through incredible pain and agony in his life. He escaped from the hell of his father into the army. And when he left the army, still furious, never having done any kind of emotional healing, he married my mom and they had me. She had a son and a daughter. So I was born to a brother and sister. My mom had very low self-esteem and just didn't like herself, didn't love herself, didn't really know that inner work even existed, nor did my dad. So there was really no love in the house. There was a lot of anger, a lot of depression, a lot of upset. My brother and sister, I think they saw me as some strange newcomer, into the family. So they weren't warm to me. They had been suffering in the hell of that house for all those years. First 17 years of my life, really, I was convinced that I was living in hell. And one thing that a lot of people forget is, to a child, whatever is happening now is how it's going to be forever. So I didn't think I was going to ever escape, that I would ever get out of that hell. And when I did, I left at age 17 with all of the crushed self-esteem and the I don't deserve. I mean, my mantra about myself was stupid, ugly, worthless piece of shit. That is literally what I was programmed to see myself to be. And it got beaten into me physically pretty much every day. So I went on and created an absolute utter train wreck out of my life, which led me really early in age to self-help. Now, I'll come back to that thread in a minute, back to the other thread. So that was the physical, historical thread. The kind of energy and maybe more mental, emotional, spiritual thread is that around age 2 or 3, as early as I can remember, I noticed like I would meet someone and I could just look at them, listen to them for a few seconds, and I could basically know virtually everything there was to know about them. And I had no idea that everybody else couldn't do it. I had no clue. I just looked at people. I felt so much unconditional love, and I would tell them how they were holding themselves back. I had a vocabulary far beyond my years, made no sense to the people around me. And I would tell them how they were holding themselves back and how they could stop. And they would usually run away screaming, this kid either has a demon or an angel, or something is weird here and I don't like it. So in addition to the pain of everything else going on in my life, my experience with people was usually something like the first couple minutes, them being completely amazed at what they were seeing and then hating or fearing it. But most of them didn't even know they feared it. They just felt that it was weird and they wanted to get away. So I never was able to have really a friendship or a relationship with anybody. And sounds like an exaggeration, but I'm actually not exaggerating. My life was hell. So at 17, I discovered that self-help existed. And I dove in with everything I had. Over the next 30 years, I spent tens of thousands of hours, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Self-help was not a luxury or some side pursuit or an interest for me. It was life or death because I really wanted to kill myself most of my life. At 23, I had my first son. And literally, like for most of the years after that, if I didn't have kids in my life, I would have ended my life and I would have joyfully seen it as an escape. I had no fear. Like my life was such a hell. There was no way death could be worse. And then this all led 30 years of deep, constant inner work, day and night. My ability to help others with this miraculous, there's no other word for it, this miraculous gift that I came into this life with, to help anybody basically solve anything. I had people having health miracles after a 30-minute conversation with me. You name it. People's problems were disappearing. But what I was learning wasn't helping me. I didn't need that self-help. I had it at 2 or 3 disability to help people, but to help myself, I was convinced that self-help and religion and personal development and spirituality was going to solve my problem someday. And it only got worse. And so at 2011, January 3rd, was my wake up or die day. And I had lost everything for the 7th time. I was at the end of my rope. I'd been suicidal most of my life. All of my bridges were burned and I was going to be back out on the street. I had run out of money completely with all my bridges burned. No hope, no connections, no way out. And I woke up and everything, I'm wrapping up the story with this. Everything that we have ever heard about quantum physics, everything that the great seers through time have told us, everything is energy, all is one. And we're in a state of grace in infinite possibilities where anything can change and everything can change beyond our wildest dreams instantaneously. Well, I wasn't experiencing it. Nobody I knew was experiencing it. Almost everybody around me was self-help junkies. Well, in that moment, I woke up and saw, everything is actually energy and it is all one and holy crap. And so in that lowest, darkest hell, I was minutes later, I was catapulted out of that hell that I had been in for 46 years. 8 days later, I was on an all expense paid cruise in the Bahamas. And 67 days later, I've been living the dream in Hawaii ever since. And I have now been able to help over 120,000 people in 84 countries to have similar experiences. So that's where I'm coming from today.
Wow. That's incredible. So many people. When I think about that amount of people who are all or were all self-help junkies, is there something to do with the psychological mix of advertising and what governments and people like that are using to indoctrinate people?
Well, those things are all totally interrelated. I mean, without a question, easily verifiable. I don't know how far into that we'll go. I'm just going to say this. When I realized, okay, so if the universe is energy, right? I mean, how many of us today say everything is energy and then we instantly go right back to battling with the physicality? You know what I mean? That's the norm.
I
right?
do.
Okay. So if the universe is energy, if all is one, and there's one infinite, unlimited energy being, which is, right? And we're in a state of infinite grace where anything and everything can change because everything's simply energy. There's no physicality here. Then 99.999999999% of everything we think and believe that we know on every topic is by definition utter bullshit. On every no, but not no, that sounds like a great exaggeration, Brian. Certainly you're using hyperbole. No, I'm not. If there's no physical universe here, then every single thing we've ever learned, all of our universities are all based in the Newtonian paradigm, which has been utterly disproven. I mean, the great seers have known it forever. And in the last several decades, all the quantum physicists have proven it. It's beyond question. There's no physical universe here. So if our medical system and pharmaceutical system is all 100% rooted in the Newtonian paradigm, and all the doctors that go through that training, they get abused, beaten to death with Newton's stick, right? Newton's stick. That sounded weird. And then if in every field of endeavor, all governmental education, the military, medicine, religion, for God's sake, to do a pun, it's all still based in the Newtonian paradigm that we're physical creatures in a giant clock, separate physical little chunks of meat in a giant machine that's going to grind us to death. Life's a bitch and then you die. Then everything basically we've ever been taught on every topic is false, and it is intentional, and it is programming. So the answer is a huge yes.
So this is an indoctrination, drip, drip, Chinese torture type stuff that's drip fed into us. And consequently, we are living a lie.
Yep. On the hugest scale. And nobody perpetuates the lie more than the self-help industry.
Well, I can tell you what, I totally resonate with that, as I've said to you and to many of the people I coach. Forget the shiny ball syndrome. You have everything you need. You created a sacred contract before birth into, as you call it, is it a human meat machine?
That's close enough.
Or a human meat suit? I love that. So we are an illusion.
Everything, if you can see it, smell it, taste it, touch it, or think about it, it doesn't actually exist. It's all misperception.
So as the Spellbreaker, you are our modern day Merlin, who is showing us that we are more powerful than we know. We are infinite intelligence. And that we have to actually step back from all this indoctrination, self-help industry, any of this marketing that's going on, because we have the ability to create our illusion in any way we choose.
Everything you just said, except for, I'm not going to say we have to. I'm going to say if we want to be free, then we must. Because I accept the possibility that the vast majority of people on this experience here, all infinite, unlimited being, perhaps they're choosing to experience the illusion of separation and physicality and suffer for longer. And that's none of my business. Like, one of the things, I won't go too deep into this unless, it's called for later, but I'm just going to say that when I began doing this as a business, and I've been doing it my whole life, 9 years ago, I began doing it as a business. And the very first thing that I did was I made an invitation to a huge group of healers, therapists, coaches, psychologists. I made an invitation to a huge group of them that I was going to start a business doing this, and that I would offer 20 free sessions. And if I didn't help them solve a life issue in an hour or less, well, we just wasted an hour and had a laugh. But if I did, they were going to give me a testimonial. So I ended up getting 20 testimonials. Now today, about 40% of my top clients are fairly well-known coaches, therapists, healers, mentors, energy workers, psychologists. And I discovered something really profound. There is a virus, so it might as well be a virus. It's like a mental, emotional virus that's in nearly everybody, especially helping professionals. And that virus goes, people need my help, and I better help them, or I'm going to be in trouble and I'm going to feel guilty. So this idea people need my help causes people to try to help people that don't want it. Now, I had 46 years of helping people that didn't want it. And I woke up from that. And because of the perspective I have with this, what I call level 5 awareness, the way I phrase it is probably going to be very unusual. And that is when an infinite, unlimited being projects out of eternity into time and space to have the temporary illusion of separation, don't mess with it unless they invite you to.
I appreciate that, because when you are born with a special gift that you were born with, you're also born an empath, a person who can actually, or it's almost like having lots of little feelers, like a caterpillar all over you. And you can actually bring in those feelings from the other people that are around you, that are also part of you, because we are, as you say, energy.
Well, let me interrupt. So you say you're totally open to really having this interaction. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now. This is a really significant issue that you're bringing up, because I have helped, probably by now, I've probably helped about 20,000 people who believed that you can be an empath. I've helped them to change that to realizing everyone has the capacity for empathy. And so, it's not disputing with you. It's just like we're talking about this level 5 paradigm, right? So I phrase it very differently, and what might seem to be a subtle distinction can literally change everything, because every person I've ever met who identifies as I am an empath, every one of them is suffering, whether they know it or not. They're suffering because of it, and they didn't even know that some of their suffering was because they say I am an empath. But when they shift that simple language to I have empathic capability, and perhaps some people have greater empathic capability than others, I have never taken on any energy of anybody else. And a lot of my so-called empath clients are like, oh my God, you work with people for 4 days in a row, 4 days and nights without taking a break. You sometimes have, dozens. How do you do that without clearing? I don't take on anybody's stuff because I don't believe any of that stuff. We're all infinite, unlimited being. Everyone has empathic capability and connection and possibility. So I have ended up being really free of all that clutter that almost everybody I know around me that does even remotely similar work to mine, is saging themselves 12 times a day. And there's nothing wrong with sage. I sage my house, but I don't take on people's stuff.
I hear what you say there. And what I'm interested to ask you about is, as the Spellbreaker, you move people, you're a paradigm shifter. So you are, having spoken to me now about that, where it's almost like it's BS that you're an empath and brand yourself as that. Understand that we all have these unlimited capabilities. You have to awaken your mind magic to the fact that you can do this if you stop branding yourself with various titles, just like the industry of self-help brands you into certain categories.
Yeah.
So as a Spellbreaker, you create the epiphany for a person to have control and understanding of their magic.
I would say that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
That's brilliant. Now, explain to me, please, Brian, what is level 5? I mean, I've studied NLP because, I'm a self-help junkie. I get on there. What is level 5? Where are we going here? Is it with the Enneagram or with any of these sort of, where do you come from with that?
Yeah, okay. I like that. So I'm going to take a slightly meandering path, and I'm going to do my best to stay really close to the center and make the point. So I will say that about, oh my gosh, well, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, somebody came to me and said, wow, Brian, I hear this stuff that you're doing. Like, when did you study landmark education? You know, there's landmark form, right? When did you study it? Because I got to say, every time I talk to you, I get the vibe that you probably have taught the courses. Like, you know, you it's almost like you were one of the founders. Like, you have it inside and out completely. And I said, what's landmark? I'd never heard of it. And then somebody about 6.5 years ago said, wow, Brian, you know, I've been studying matrix energetics for many years, and I know the founders, and I, like, you are the best. Like, you know matrix energetics better than anybody I've ever seen in my life. Like, who did you learn from? Who did you study? And I said, what's matrix energetics? And about 4.5 years ago, I was in DC, and I was having dinner, and there was a woman that I had met on Facebook. She found out I was going to be there. So she's like, hey, let's meet, let's have dinner, let's have a great conversation. So we're having a conversation. She brought up an issue, and I said, would you be open to looking at that from a different angle, which is what I usually do? She said yes. I worked with her for 15 minutes, and she said, dude, I've been working on this for 30 years. You know access consciousness better than Gary and Dane, the founders. She said, I know them well. I've been through all of the training, some of them multiple times. I don't think they can do what you just did with me. When did you learn access consciousness? And I said, what the hell is access consciousness? So I can't tell you how many times that I've been accused of being, you know, one of the most skilled practitioners of a system that I had never heard of, never studied. And from what I understand, I haven't spent 3 minutes studying NLP. And yet I've met a whole lot of people who have said, dude, you use NLP at a level of mastery that's almost scary. Like, I'm wondering, are you programming me the whole time you're talking to me? Because, like, it's just crazy how, and so what that is level 5, which is just a name that I invented. I'll explain why in a moment. Points to absolute oneness, dissolving your human being into, you don't lose yourself. You can still have an ego, and it can be fully functioning so that you seem to have your unique separate perspective. And yet you're allowing the fullness of infinite intelligence to race through and flood through you. So it's kind of like channeling, only the idea of channeling is you're this person channeling that entity or those entities. What I'm talking about is channeling my infinite self. I'm kind of out of the way, and that light that I am, the true I am, is just flowing through me like it can flow through anybody. And for whatever reason, at this time, I came through in this weird, you know, strange, unusual way with a gift of having it be apparently undiluted. And so now what level 5 is in a nutshell, the way that I look at it, there are 5 different I say approaches to life, or whatever you want to call it. And the first one I call meat suit. So level 1 is meat suit. And that is, I am basically a cave person. Okay. Caveman, cave woman, cave, whatever. I am a cave person who, and there's still plenty of them among us. Basically, it's me against the world, and I'm going to battle and kick ass so I don't get my ass kicked, and I'll come home with enough bananas to make it through the week. All right. It's battling me against the world. I use my back to win. Level 2 of awareness and living is, I call it mind or mindset. And it's interesting to me how many people think mindset is like the holy grail. It's not even remotely. Like, that's scratching the surface. When you don't want to be a meat suit anymore, you focus on your mindset. Okay. Not to belittle or put anybody down ever. So mindset and mind is level 2. I'm not some dumbass caveman or cavewoman meat suit. No, I hire them to make sure I have enough bananas and more to get through the week. So I'm faster, smarter, more clever at getting through this physical universe. But it's still, the commonalities between level 1 and level 2 is they die young, they have incredible stress, lots of disease, lots of anger, very difficulty having any kind of rest or emotional connection with people. That leads to the third level, which I call religiosity. And religiosity is when a caveman, cavewoman, or mindset person has kind of evolved and noticed, wait a minute, this might not all be exactly just this physical machine the way it seems. Maybe there's more. Maybe there's more. And what they always find out is some version of a God outside of themselves, always accompanied by plenty of rules to learn, lots of stuff to learn. Well, if I do it this way and that way and that way, then I'll get to heaven. If I do this, I get the really good seats in heaven. And if I do that, I might get to heaven faster and there'll be virgins waiting for me. So there's all these rules in the religiosity paradigm where you're starting to think there might be more than just this chunk of meat and maybe some kind of morality or something beyond fighting and killing and using people to get enough bananas to get through the week. Now, when people graduate out of that level 3 religiosity, they become universally what I call it, it's not just spiritual, I call it being spiritual. And I'm putting up my fingers to make quotes, being spiritual. And virtually everybody that I know is at some level of being spiritual. I still have some level 2s and level 3s, very, very, very few level 1s in my life anymore. They just find me too weird. They can't stand me. And so level 4s, almost everybody I know is at level 4. And level 4 is this. Sorry, I've graduated above religiosity. I'm spiritual now. And they're almost universally extremely frustrated with the fact of how much they're talking it without walking it. They talk out of one side of their mouth and they mean it. I'm telling you, I'm not criticizing in any way. I lived there most of my life. Out of one side of their mouth, they say all is one. And then out of the other side of their mouth, they're criticizing, condemning, and labeling and abusing and trying to win. Out of one side of their mouth, they say everything is energy. And out of the other side of their mouth, they're cussing the rock that they stubbed their toe on, constantly fighting and wrestling with physicality. And so what happens with religiosity with spirituality, being spiritual, is that you don't realize that when you thought you left religion behind, you brought all of your shit with you. And your spirituality is now your new religion and you don't even know it. And what I see the law of attraction, it's not a popular viewpoint. So I just say it like I see it. I see the law of attraction as the next religion for people who think they're leaving religion behind and now they're spiritual, but they beat themselves to death with the law of attraction, just like they were beating themselves to death with their Catholicism or whatever else they had, and they don't even know it. And it's still got plenty of rules because you can't be negative, you got to be positive. You don't want to talk about your feelings, blah, 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 all this spiritual crap that the law of attraction and most spirituality imposes a whole nother set of overlays, right? So what would be above that would be to actually transcend the spiritual religiosity of level 4 and actually step into the reality that all is one. It's not a theory or a mental thing that you repeat anymore while you wear your beads and do downward dog. It's actually your living experience. All is one. Everything is energy. And I'm in a state of infinite possibilities where anything and everything can change instantaneously by me simply becoming totally present to what is, releasing all resistance to that which I am bringing into existence, because I take 100% responsibility for everything that shows up around me without exception. Even the seeming global stuff, I understand that's emanating from me, and I am 100% responsible for it, all of it. And so that's where living at level 5 is. And basically I help mostly, I get in a different, now that I've given all that background, right? My summary of what my work is I help level 4s become level 5s.
So they learn how to shift, just like, the movie The Matrix, where you can shift those walls and you can push them out and understand that is you who can do it.
It's true, except for I'm just going to twist the words a little bit. Rather than they learn that they can, I help them unlearn that they can't.
Well, that makes sense, going back and unraveling everything and then re-knitting it together.
Yep.
No wonder you're the Spellbreaker. Explain to me how, when you decided, after, there you were homeless, it was tragic. You'd spent more than 300,000 on all of these and more, but that's what you'd managed to tote up and understand you'd spent.
Yeah.
When you decided to just go onto Google and offer that help to people, how you just put something like that together? I mean, you used the most simple form. You went to Google, Dr. Google, you set up your email, and you did what you did. How did you, when you awoken, you were awake or awakened, and you just went and did that? What put that into your mind? Was it a higher level of yourself, or what did you do?
Okay, well, just to be accurate, I did it on Facebook rather than Google.
Yeah,
And
I beg your pardon.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's just for accuracy's sake. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I went into a group that I was in on Facebook, early January 2011. But what happened prior to that was when I woke up, we all think in terms of levels, and I know exactly what you mean. And I find myself at times still thinking in terms of levels. I would just say that levels is actually a level 4 concept. And once you get into level 5, one of the things you realize is, there's no levels here. There's one infinite unlimited being. So it's another just fine distinction.
Yeah.
I basically asked, you could say, because questions are the answer. I asked, okay, what do I do now? And I got this clear signal. Okay, reach out into this group of people that you're in and offer free sessions and just make it really clear. I'm not going to charge anything. However, there's a catch. People love a catch. When you admit there's a catch, they're like, oh, yeah, Craig, I can trust this person. They admit there's a catch. So the catch is that if I deliver and I help you solve this life issue in less than an hour, especially if it's something you've been working on for decades, you're going to give me a testimonial. And I knew that if I started my business with 20 I knew that if I had 20 people, I would get 20 testimonials because I don't miss. Infinite unlimited being can't miss. So if these people had been working on something for a long time, they wanted it handled. And if they stepped up and said, yes, I will get on a call with you, they were ready. And so I knew that if I did 20 sessions, I was going to have 20 testimonials, and I was set for business. So it was really, I'll say this, the word that we all use is intuition, and that's as good a word as any. We just might want to adapt some of what we thought that word meant. Insight from the fact that the infinite unlimited being that is actually is in me. I'm not in it. It's in me. The universe that I perceive, I'm not in it. It's in me. I'm perceiving it as out there because of the way I was programmed to misperceive. But all that is in me, and I am that. And the same is true of all of us because there's only one here. We're just reflecting it from different points of view.
So we are God and God is us.
Yes, and most people are very uncomfortable using that word to say it, but it's as good as any other word. The only reason I agree with Eckhart Tolle on this. Eckhart said, I heard him say this years ago. He said, the only reason I don't use the word God very often. He said, I love the word as much as any other word. It's just the reason I don't use it is because when I say it, most people don't hear me. They instantly catapult into everything they think and believe they know about it, so they can't actually hear what I'm saying. And still, it's the same thing.
So this is childhood indoctrination, even the word God.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, there's trillions of dollars at stake and power over billions of people. So, yeah.
So this is where, awaken your mind magic. I just say what I think. So
beautiful.
What I understand here as well is we are limitless.
Yeah.
We are all interconnected and we are all one.
Yeah. The
power of one.
Yeah. And to the point that ultimately there's no we to be one. You can say all is one. I mean, but once we get here, the words all fall apart anyway. So we're just doing the best we can, you and me both, with the words that we have, the tools we have, which are words.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the English language is not romantic. It doesn't have all those little extra words.
It was engineered to prevent us from being able to communicate spiritual truth.
Well, there you are. Maybe we should all learn another language. I wonder what it should be. we make one universal one. But then they'll start talking about Babylon and the tower and all of that sort of stuff as well,
From what I
won't they?
Sanskrit conveys it, but here's the thing. If we're communicating from our infinite being, we can transcend the words while we're doing it, and anybody can do it.
That's true. Brian, when you help a person with, well, we'll use the word a breakthrough, and you say it's instantaneous, would that be just after, like the person you spoke about sitting and having a chat over dinner in no time? I mean, I have many epiphanies at the moment just speaking to you, and I'm sure that the listeners will feel the same way. But you speak about that. It's, it's telling your truth, but letting a person who's open to it understanding their own truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I say I'm a reminder, I'll slip this in real quick. When I say that I'm a reminder, if we are infinitely one, then it's ridiculous for me to ever think that I could teach anybody anything. All that I can do is remind them. I mean, if anything, I'm unteaching. I'm helping people unlearn all the time. So by reminding them of what they infinitely are and always infinitely knew and always infinitely were and will be, and simply by reflecting that to them the whole time we're communicating, they're going, oh, I don't know what the hell's happening here, but I feel better. And I'm, wow. Oh, wait, I have this epiphany. I'm having this epiphany. And when I do the actual, so to speak, work with someone, we're undoing it mentally, emotionally, physically. Like there's belief elimination experts and there's energy workers, all these different people doing fractions and fragments and pieces, all with immense infinite value. And for whatever reason, however this worked out, when I work with someone, we're undoing it mentally, emotionally, physically, their beliefs, their rules, their identities, their paradigms, their core paradigm, their emotions that were tangled up all at the same time. And so physiological changes happen while this is going on. It's on all seeming levels at the same time.
That's brilliant. So when you hold a workshop or a seminar or anything like that, is it in Hawaii? Do you invite people to come to you?
Yeah, I've for the first few years, I was doing exclusively sessions, either just sitting down face to face or just one-on-one sessions over video or the phone. And then I guess it was about 5 years ago that I started doing like clusters where someone might do 12 weeks with me on video. I did a lot of online multi-week online programs. People would call it small group coaching, but I am not doing coaching. I'm doing spell breaking the whole time, unmaking. And then a client in Scotland said, well, man, I don't really want to go. I don't want to do 12 sessions over 12 weeks. Could you just come to Scotland? Could I fly you over here? I'm still, he was working on his PhD, and he said, this is the best stuff I've ever done. Could I fly you over here and we could just do it in a few days? And we did. And then I worked with clients in Belgium and Scotland and England and Ireland and many different countries. And then I realized in less than a year, I don't want to do this anymore. So now I've done all of my work either on by video or here in Hawaii. And I do small events, and I also have people come out for one-on-one work. And we just basically unmake everything, however far they want to go, unmaking. That's how far we go.
That's fantastic. So they can stay there with you in Hawaii, or do they find other accommodation? What's the deal there?
I live right near the ocean, outside of Kailua Kona on the Big Island. And so there's such a huge vacation rental thing. People stay usually just a couple doors down from me. So they have a quiet place to go and shut down between sessions and for sleep. And then they just walk over here and we start the morning and go for it.
So I'm not going to let you go yet because I still have some questions to ask. We'll be telling them how to do that later. Okay. You're a surfer.
I boogie board some, and my daughter is like a super, super awesome surfer. I have only done it once, and I absolutely love it. It is a joyful, gorgeous, amazing experience.
And do you associate the energy of the ocean with humanity or with us meat suit people? What is the source of energy from the earth in association with the humans on this and the animals on this earth?
Yeah, that's a really beautiful question. So I talk about this a lot with clients, and I talk about this a lot with my kids. The fact that so all is one, there's no separation. However, in the experience of separation, it's really helpful to be looking at how there's no separation. So the fact of the matter is that if you take air and water and earth and fire and whatever the magic is, there's indefinable energy, right? Air, water, earth, and fire, all of which are energies. And then this indefinable magic. Well, that's what everything in the universe that's not actually separate things is all made of these same elements. So human beings are air, water, earth, and fire, and magic. And in a very real way, we come out of the earth. We're not like born on it. We come out of it. So I view human beings in effect as plant. And I see animals this way too. We're plants that are able to actually move around and have our roots touch the ground through our hands and our mouths. Like we're getting our sustenance from the earth like any plant does. And we are aspects of the planet, which is an aspect of us. And ultimately, I find this to be the most serving metaphor that I've been able to come up with, and it's helped a whole lot of people. There's nothing physical in this universe. There is light projecting out of eternity, inexhaustible river of light projecting out of eternity, which never changes. It's inexhaustible, infinite energy with infinite potential. And this light, raging river into this illusion of time and space, making the illusion of time and space. So therefore, all that is in the seeming physical universe is light condensed into seeming physicality, all of which is, by definition, mirrors of light, made of light and reflecting light. And so different conglomerations of light that have coalesced and condensed into different mirrors look different to us. Some of them we think are different people. Some of them we perceive as a computer mouse or, whatever. But ocean, water, the fish, the tree that fell in the ocean and went to the bottom, and now all the material from that tree is in the water, and all the turtle poop and everything else. It's air, water, earth, and fire. It's reflections of me. I'm a reflection of it. And there's one infinite, unlimited being animating all of it with no separation in any of it. So to me, that's this idea of mirrors made of light is perhaps as close as we're ever going to get to explaining it and capturing it in words.
So that's a really good explanation. And now I'm going to ask you, do you believe in evolution?
Yes and no. So everything that seems to exist in time and space, including the concept of evolution, is a misperception in the realm of physicality, which is a misperception. So while some are debating, no, it's creation, no, it's evolution, of course it's both. And, one of the really trippy concepts here, I'm taking a little bit of a liberty. It's related to what you asked, but you didn't exactly ask. I find this is a really liberating awareness. So people are just constantly talking about cause and effect. Like the Western world and the Western mind and Western education is rooted in cause and effect. You could say that if it's not the fundamental principle, it's one of the fundamental principles of all Western thought, and it's absolute bullshit. It's completely false. It doesn't exist. So there's emergence, right? And the only question anybody ever needs to ask to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that cause and effect isn't real is, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And if we don't flinch from it or go, oh, that's weird, or try to rationalize it, they couldn't neither of them could have come first. No matter how you do the math, no matter what kind of miraculous story you come up with, they emerge simultaneously with everything else. So this illusion of a creation, the illusion of a big bang, and therefore the illusion of change through evolution over time is all equally illusory. It's just energy,
That's
projecting out of eternity into
that
time and space.
that's true. I believe I agree with you. I'm in accordance.
Mhm.
Do you believe in star seeds and walk-ins and people who have sort of mixed with the human that you are, or genetically from another planet?
I'm actually glad you asked that question. One of the first things that happened this morning, I saw a couple of Facebook posts, and one of them was a bunch of level 4 spiritual stuff written about star seeds. And I don't and I cannot put anyone down. We're all one. And everybody's perception and belief set is as valid as everybody else's for infinite, unlimited being projecting out of eternity into time and space to play it their way, right? And ultimately, what I find is I'm probably going to end up writing a book about this, because everybody has these spiritual philosophies, really developed, detailed, complex galactic histories and all this stuff. And it's easy for someone living in level 4 to get so caught up in the fascination of following all those ideas that they forget again and again and again, infinite, unlimited being projecting out of eternity to have an experience. That's all we need to know. That's all we need to understand. Are there demons? I don't know. I guess if you believe in them strongly enough, you're going to experience them. Well, is there angels? I guess if you believe in them strongly enough, you're going to experience them. Is there evil in this world? I don't know. I guess if you believe strongly enough, you're going to experience them. Are there star seeds, and are we descended from a galactic? Certainly we are, for everyone who believes it. And yet, at the eternal level, the universe hasn't been birthed yet. At the eternal level, there is no 800 billion years of history of the Galactic Federation and all the stuff that's so fascinating to talk about, and whether our government got taken over by reptilians, thousands. Who the hell knows? It's entirely possible. But I find that chasing all that stuff, I'll summarize it with this. Every once in a while, somebody messages me, and I just get it. We get on the first video call when they want to talk about possibly working with me, and they say, dude, I can tell you're the real deal, man. Do you help people levitate? And I say, listen, how about if we get it to where you can have a conversation and sleep well at night? We get your health balanced, and where you can have a happy relationship, and then we'll see if you still want to do that. Why don't we handle the basics of functionality living on Earth in a body first, and then we'll talk about that advanced stuff. So, I don't concern myself with it. And if the moment ever comes when this shows up for me, Brian, pay attention, my intuition guides me, that's the next step, then I'm going to give it my attention. Until then, I'm focused on making life as wonderful for myself and the people around me as I can.
I hear you there, and you certainly are. Can we speak about your book, Break Your Self-Help Addiction? Because that is something very generous. I know you give it away. Tell us more about that.
Well, after about 5 years of helping people, and I'm not caught up in the spiritual delusion that says people doing spiritual work shouldn't make money. That's bullshit too. And I don't buy it. So I have been willing to charge for my services. And, I want to be clear. I'm not justifying it. I'm just explaining it for those that might be helped by me saying this. I like to have the lights on. I live in Hawaii, where living in Hawaii costs money, like living everywhere else, maybe more. Groceries are, a couple 100% higher here. I have grown kids that I still help. I have my 3 little ones that I provide 100% support, them and my partner. And so I like to keep the lights on. I like to be able to eat, and I like to be able to eat healthy. And I'm running a business that has stuff. So I've never flinched or hesitated about charging money. And I am constantly accused of being the most generous person that most of the people around me have ever seen. And so I have this philosophy of I've constantly charged more as demand for what I do has gone up. I've constantly raised my prices for it. And I've always had plenty of people saying, man, it'd be so great if you had something either free or just really, really affordable where you could put your essence of your work, And so what I did was I ended up spending a ton of money getting extremely high level help to write the book that I would have killed for or died for, bled for during my $300,000 investment all those years. I wrote the book that was not available and isn't available anywhere else. It's designed to be the end of the self-help industry. And so the great news and the bad news, I put both of those in quotes, is that virtually nobody in the self-help except my clients in the self-help industry likes me except for my clients, because I'm saying that stuff's not necessary and is not helpful. And if you want to continue, please do. But let me show you why I don't. And so Break Your Self-Help Addiction does not make me popular, except for with the people who read it and go, oh my God, this is the best thing I've ever done. And I decided to not only write the book, but to actually create a whole bunch of videos that come with the book. Like I put this book that we're giving away for free and the videos that come with it, I put it against any $5,000 or $10,000 personal development course on the market today. And you can buy it on Amazon. However, I have no idea how much it is. And I don't know if I've ever made a penny off of it. I mean, I know people are downloading it, but I don't know. We give it away on my website for free. And I think we probably have about 80 to 90,000 downloads so far. And I get messages every single day from people saying that my free stuff did as much or more for them than all the stuff they'd ever paid for. So there's my pitch for my free book.
Well, I'm going to enhance on that, because you said some of the people don't like you because of your self-help book. I'm going to one day, when I'm mega wealthy, send you a golden throne and put you on that because I downloaded your book and I've been through your videos in the past couple of weeks. And it has switched on, as Oprah Winfrey says, she coined it, light bulb moment, the epiphany, where I realized, wow, this guy has been through it. It's his story, but I reflect on that story because at some stage we all have to realize, like you say, we have this infinite ability to understand that we have all the power that's within. So I appreciate very much that free download personally. So whoever's listening to this, I recommend you download it. You get the videos as well. I've been watching them. And he's pretty cool as well. You need to watch him as well. I
appreciate it. Maybe you send me the golden throne. They'll send me a golden ottoman for my feet, and I'll just be like in style from here on out. That'll be awesome for me.
Yeah, you would be. They might think that you were an angel descended from heaven.
Well, we all certainly are that in our own way. So I don't shy away from that one either.
Oh, that's funny. So, Brian, I'm just going to skip back to you as a child because I resonate with that as well. Where people think you odd, you're different, and consequently, bullying is a part of the situation as well. And what people don't understand is when you have a gift of a gifted child, you should open your eyes and ears and heart to that child because they're giving you a message already, not to destroy the child, where they consequently go into something like self-help or self-abuse or any of those sort of things to compensate for that bullying and that disbelief in the abilities a child has. So my heart is open, and I send you a big golden heart there as well. I like gold, by the way, and silver, and anything that shines, as I told you. But I send you that to your little child that's within, because That I understand, because growing up, I often had people thinking I was weird as well. So I understand that. And I wonder how many people resonate with that.
Yeah.
Do you help children?
I do, and I have noticed over the years. So I have three little ones. I've got three grown kids, and I have three little ones. Adiana is about to turn 9, Suki is 13, and Nathan is about to turn 16. And they all three get my work to a really amazing extent and speak it back to me. And sometimes my 13-year-old daughter, when I do a live stream, she'll be on with me and we're reflecting things back to people. It's beyond fulfilling and just thrilling for me to have this experience with them. And then I also have noticed more and more people sharing my book with their kids. I run live programs. So I started one a week and a half ago that is going for 12 weeks. People will be joining every week up until the end. And we had a live session yesterday. And probably 4 of the 45 people that were on that live call yesterday had their kids in the room and listening. And I warned them, listen, if you are one who believes that there is such a thing as bad words, you don't want your kids around me, because I'm going to be showing that there is no such thing as a bad word by using them all with humor, and passion and enthusiasm. So they know, don't even go there. If you still believe there's such a thing as bad words, well, that's just one more thing for us to look at, how you could believe that. And I understand how people do, but they're bringing a lot of their kids to, and more and more and more. And I keep having people tell me, well, Brian, we had that session, we had that conversation, and literally I haven't been able to communicate with my daughter hardly for years. And she walked in the room and wanted to communicate, and we had the best time, and I didn't even have to say anything. So when we change these combinations of electricity in us that are structures that are bringing things about, it changes in the out there as well, including in our families.
That's fantastic. Would you consider doing a program for youngsters? And the reason I ask that as well is I've been in education for more than 30 years. And I always felt very strongly that children should not be indoctrinated as in the old traditions, and that they should learn from childhood that they have infinite possibilities to do whatever they choose to do.
Yeah, I'm again, you see how I play with words here. I'm just going to say that rather than that they shouldn't be indoctrinated with that stuff, I just say they can be allowed to stay the way they are. And what that's going to require, the shift that's going to be required, when mom has the baby in the womb, she's filling it with more bullshit just by what she thinks and feels, and has no idea that this kid is literally taking it all on. The people that walk by, the people coming by, when dad sits there and thinks, geez, how are we going to handle this kid? I wish that thing would just die. All of that stuff is getting straight into the child in the womb. So they don't necessarily come out exactly as the blank slate that a lot of us think. And then from the earliest moments, the way that we're born, whether we're born in a natural environment, in a quiet place with people that love us, or whether we're born in the cut and burn medical system where they jerk us out with forceps, slap us on the ass, and stick needles in us, okay? We learn so much in those first minutes and hours and days. So there's still plenty to undo for those of us that want to actually live in heaven on earth. There's so much to undo there. However, having kids get this information that helps them to undo a lot of that information. The earlier they get access to this, the less layers and levels and loads of bullshit they have in them to undo. They can really come out of it quickly. And so you asked the question, would I consider? The day that I said, okay, universe, what do I do now? I woke up, now what? When I saw level 5, I saw level 5 children, level 5 parenting. I saw the entire gamut, and it's just been a matter of getting my business as it is into a place of stability and size with a large enough current audience at one time to actually have the help to begin to build these things as spokes around the level 5 hub at the center. And absolutely doing this for kids is one of the biggest, most important things in my world.
Thank you so much for that. I love that, because this world relies on our youth. And especially what we're going through right now with COVID-19 and all the other stuff that's going on. Our youngsters need to understand that from the first and foremost thought is unconditional love. And everything comes from the heart. And what you're teaching is exactly that. Brian, how do the listeners get in touch with you? Because I know that they're going to want to. I'm not going to let you out of my sight. I'm going to be messaging you every now and then, telling you how I'm breaking away from my self-help stuff.
I love it.
But
that's why I'm here. I love it. It's one of my favorite things, hearing people, every time I get a message, I say, listen, I don't have time to read them all, but I usually do my best anyway to read them all. Just let me know what's happening. I love hearing it. Never gets old for me. So
he's amazing, because he does get back. So come on, tell us, Brian. Tell us how they can get hold of you.
Yeah, well, probably right now, temporarily, the best way will still be Facebook. And it's facebook.com/. You can obviously give them links with this, but it's Brian.
Yes, I will.
Brian with an I.D. Ridgway with no E. Spelling obviously matters there. And then on YouTube, my channel is Level 5 Mentor, just one word, Level 5 Mentor. And I have something really near and dear to my heart right now that I want to share. And it's a link where if you go there, you will get automatically added to our free Facebook group, and you'll get on my email notification list. So I have a project that I started about a month and a half ago called globalinrising.com. And it's 100% free. I'm going to take advantage of this and just put a blurb in here for this. globalinrising.com. Uprisings don't work. Whenever one phase of people comes in and says, hey, it's time for heads to roll. Let's man the guillotines and let's take the bad old establishment and chop them up. The ones who man the guillotines are the new bad guys, if you know what I mean. It just continues again and again. That's why history repeats itself, because we're fighting against what is rather than standing for what we prefer and bringing that into existence. So I came up with the idea about a month and a half ago. The lockdown was going on. My team and I were talking about what could we do? The one thing we could do that would serve the greatest number of people to the greatest extent. And this idea for Global In Rising was born. We have a Facebook group called Unconditional Happiness that's 100% free. And there are thousands of dollars of the most powerful, awakening, liberating tools and resources that you have ever seen. I don't care where you've been, how long you've been working on yourself. There's nothing like it. They're all in there for free. And then we're helping people to step into oneness, tap into their infinite, unlimited being, unmake the past so that we are together unmaking the matrix without fighting against the establishment or the controllers or anything else. And so globalinrising.com is a great place to get connected and join this movement. You can go watch a video that's there that can change your life, and then you'll be able to decide if it's an action you want to take or not.
Well, I'll be doing that as soon as we've finished recording here.
Beautiful. One more.
One more. Especially when you say that you do all of these giveaways as well. And that is brilliant. And really, Brian is well worth chatting to. He has strategy sessions, or whatever it is you call them, Brian, where they can communicate with you off your website. Yeah. And I have so enjoyed communicating with you today, Brian. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
I enjoyed every second. Thank you very much, Susan. It's been great. I look forward to continuing the conversation.
I do too. Bye now. That's Awaken Your Mind Magic for another week. If anything you've heard today has really impacted you and you want to know more, or you would just like to connect with me, then visit my website, awakenyourmindmagic.com, and reach out for a free one-on-one discovery session with me.
Silver on the outside, silver on the outside, gold on the inside.
I'll be discussing more tools to unlock your dreams and live a limitless life that you would truly love to live. I'm Susan Kathleen, and this has been Awaken Your Mind Magic.